Welcome to a self-published author's diary. I am Elodie Novodatsky. I write about first time, second chances, things that scare the crap out of me, and things that make me laugh out loud. I'll be speaking with you and sharing my adventures in self-publishing, the behind the scenes of writing, and the business side of it. And before we get started today, a small message from our sponsor, Anchor. Thanks for listening. Good morning. I don't know why I start with good morning, especially because when I am recording this episode, it is still morning, but it's an episode that I wrote or post that I wrote during a stretch of several days. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're listening to this podcast. The sun is shining through the window. Plato the dog is snoring on the couch, and I have a lot of things to do on my to-do list, including starting this weekly email/podcast, which will also be available in French when it comes to the weekly email. I haven't looked into starting the podcast in French. Maybe I will. I am not sure yet. So if you're interested, you can go onto my website, www.elodienovodatsky.com, Novodatsky, Nowod as dog, Azkij, or you can go to www.aselfpublishedauthor'sdiary.com. And I'll be sharing parts of this episode on my blog. I mean, basically, you can just go on my blog and read it. But I will be probably sharing more in my weekly email that you will get directly into your inbox. So you can go again and sign up for that if you're interested. So why did I start a weekly email and a podcast about self-publishing? After all, newsflash, I am not one of the big names. I don't have a pen name. I mean, I do have several pen names actually, but none of them are like one of the big pen names or one of the big names. So I'm not making thousands of dollars a month. And the main reason I'm able to still focus on my business is thanks to my husband and his job. I mean, granted, there's also a pandemic, and I had a stem cell transplant back in October 2019 because I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I'm still considered to be in the segment of the population that needs to be extra careful. I did get my first vaccine shot about 2 weeks ago, so I'm very excited about that. But I am still able to take all necessary precautions thanks to my husband and his job, and many others might not. So anyhow, I've been sharing some behind the scenes in my Instagram stories. My Instagram is @enovodatsky. But the reach very much depends on the algorithm, and I don't post regularly enough on social media, at least I think, to make the algorithm work in my favor. B, after not being on social media very consistently over the past several years, it sometimes feels like I need to start from scratch. C, this might be helpful and or entertaining and or interesting to my readers. I'm crossing my fingers it's all free, and in that case, you guys are my listeners. D, I'm currently changing the way I'm working on my publishing career. And E, and yes, since I will also be talking about my books, maybe I might gain a few more readers. F, sometimes it feels like I'm talking in a void. And actually right now, I may be talking in a void. If you're listening, hi. And did I mention there's a pandemic and that I haven't interacted face-to-face for more than 15 minutes with more than 4 people? Not for them, more than 4 people at one time. No. More than 4 people on different occasions, counting my husband in almost a year. And at least when I'm talking to the microphone, it feels like my words may reach someone. So again, if you're out there listening, thank you, and hope you're doing well. I feel the same way about writing my books, but there's no instant gratification when it comes to writing novels or even short stories. I don't publish them right away. There's an entire process behind them. I do receive emails from readers and I need to print them out and make an album out of them because reading them always makes me smile. And I know that for some authors, where I am at my career is a place they long to be. I'm fully aware of that. And for some other authors, they wish for something different. It's all about expectations and I guess where you are in your writing journey. And some self published authors who started publishing around the same time I did have quit for many different reasons. Have I mentioned how lucky I am for my husband and his support? Other self published authors have risen to the top of the charts, mostly due to their hard work and business savvy and marketing strategies, and yes, a bit of luck. But honestly, that bit of luck wouldn't be anything without the hard work they've put behind the scenes and the amount of novels they have written that are so good, readers just can't get enough. I just got a message on my phone. Probably should turn that off. And some, like me, are continuing to write and publish, trying out different avenues and strategies, readjusting their goals. See, I am kind of musing right now, thinking out loud, talking out loud. Yeah, that makes sense because when you talk, it's usually out loud. Anyways, I thought about starting a Patreon and then I thought about this podcast. And I hesitated, but I also listened to a podcast by this author, Elle Penelope. If you have not listened to her podcast, it's called My Imaginary Friends. And I love, love, love her podcast. And she's actually in the same Writers Association that I am. And she's a great author. One of her books actually took me out of my reading slump one time. So I highly recommend her podcast and her books. And she kind of like inspired me in a way to think at least about doing this podcast. And then my husband, when I talked to him about it, he was like, yeah, you should go for it. Just, don't obsess over every little detail. So yes, he knows me very well because this is kind of a big jump in the unknown. And even though I'm very much looking forward to record those, episodes and sharing what I'm doing and maybe hopefully be helpful and entertaining to you, I'm going to try very hard to not review every sentence before I publish. It should still stay fun for me. So yeah, so I can talk about a lot of different subjects. I used to work as a press officer and as an adjunct faculty. So I'm used to and I enjoy presenting on a variety of topics. But it's true that doing it in writing is something that I do on a more regular basis, which is actually why this podcast feels easy in a way, because I've already written everything. Like I just have to read out what I wrote. Granted, I'm adding a few things, but because I'm talking and just not reading out loud my post, but I have the basis for it. I'm just not thrown in front of the camera and say like, okay, now talk about self-publishing. That might be a disaster. So right now it's structured in a way which I'm enjoying. So what am I currently working on? I am switching some of my French speaking, German speaking, and maybe Portuguese speaking books to Kindle Unlimited. I haven't published a new original book in more than a year, and so the sales have been dwindling on all platforms. And I am getting the rights back on some of my German and Portuguese translations. And by looking at the overall sales and revenues in the last 3 years for my books in French, I did have a jump in revenue a few months after the hype of release week or month when I put those books in Kindle Unlimited. By the way, did you know that Kindle Unlimited has a different name in France? And there's a whole legal story behind it about the right of publishers to set the ebook prices. And there were quite a few articles about it back in 2015. I found this fascinating. And we'll definitely read more about it. The Trust Me Not French version has also never been in the French equivalent of Kindle Unlimited, so waiting for the other platforms to delist La Peur dans le sang, La Peur dans les yeux, and La Peur en plein cœur. And off they go into the French equivalent of KU. I just got a restart to install the latest Windows updates. Not right now. Snooze. I am working on 2 new bilingual books. I had a lot of foreign languages editions of my books on BabbleCube, and I got a lot of the rights back on those books. My revenue currently comes mostly from my bilingual books, so this means I need to format, and publish. I'm currently working on the English-Spanish version of A Summer Like No Other and the German-English version of Always Second Best. This might be a good time to say that this post was written in March. We're now in April, so those books have been published, but let me continue. I started Mark Dawson's class on ads for authors. I've been wanting to take this class for years, literally years. It's definitely an investment, but it has already helped me when it comes to my newsletter and making efforts to expand my newsletter subscribers in other countries, such as France, where my books have been selling the best. Especially as I'm currently drafting several stories, some of which I'm planning to release this year. Trying to find ways to reach more audiobook listeners. And Bobbie the Cat just made his first podcast appearance. Can you hear him meow in the back? Hi, Kleiner. Yeah, he's so cute. So Megan Carter narrated Fear Me, Fear Me Not and See Me, See Me Not, and those audiobooks are good. Like really, they are really, really good. She's an amazing narrator, and I am so looking forward to have more listeners discover those books. You can listen to the samples. My cat wants me to bring him upstairs. He's actually coming close to the microphone right now. Maybe I should record those. From a self-publishing and business perspective, do not eat the microphone. I also want to make sure that Megan gets her fair share of downloads. We did a royalty share plus contract on ACX, meaning that I paid her a lower rate per finished hour, but we do share royalties on the books. So for me, I want to A, recoup, don't eat the microphone, recoup my investment, B, make a profit, C, make sure Megan also makes on this book at least what she would have earned if I had paid her regular per finished hour rate. 5, I'm going wide with the audiobook of A Summer Like No Other, which is actually available right now. What does going wide mean for an audiobook? That means that instead of listing my audiobook via ACX, which is the Amazon platform and only makes it available on Amazon, iTunes, and Audible, I am using Findaway Voices, and it will be available in libraries, Google Play, and so many more places. I am thrilled about this. 6, back to training my dragon. Did I actually say the numbers at the beginning? I bought a copy of The Dragon Naturally Speaking back in 2016 and didn't use it a whole lot, as I'm currently writing short stories about ghosts, witches, vampires, with Susan Dennard's Story a Month challenge, and want to write a prequel novella to the rom-com I'm finishing revising. I need to draft faster. If you're an author and you're listening to this, you may have a different process, and you may also have your own speed. For me right now, I need to draft faster, and that means getting the story out faster, like the first draft, because I have noticed that I do much better in revising if I figure out the novel as I draft it. It's either I need to get the story totally out and then sometimes even just rewrite it because I figured it out, but then I need to draft fast, because if I draft something that takes me an entire year to draft, and then I realized that, actually the plotting I had and something I had was not the best, then I have to start again. So I am now more of a plotter than I used to be, but there are still areas that I discover only once I have the story drafted. So, yep, this is what you might expect in my weekly emails, on my blog, on this podcast. Basically, more info about what I'm reading about the self-publishing market, result in some of my marketing methods, and trying out different platforms. Some random thoughts about going wide, Kindle Unlimited, writing methods. I'll be sharing more about training my dragon, the transcription, the ups and downs of self-publishing, more of a glimpse behind the scenes, and I'll be crossing my fingers that way I can connect more with readers and writers and people around the world. wondering about self-publishing or my experience with self-publishing or writing in general. After all, some people still find actually my little blog by looking up ideas on writing and self-publishing from years ago. A lot of things have changed in the self-publishing landscape. A lot of them haven't. So I'll share with you how I think I became somewhat of a success in France with my self-publishing books. It has a lot to do with a lot of luck and timing. And I also share with you what I'm going to try with this new book I'm planning to release this year. So that's it for now. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to help support me in my writing, you can always recommend this podcast to one of your friends. You can share it. You can, I think I have something where you can donate something online. You can also buy my books, or you can visit my blog. You can sign up for my newsletter. There's so much that you can do. I think you can subscribe and you can review. And yeah, you can follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at enowodatsky, and OWOD as dog, AZKIJ. And I'm also on BookBub and Goodreads. So I will see you out there in the World Wide Web, I guess. This sounds like a beginning of a new book. Anyways, I'll talk to you later. Bye.